Electronic assemblies are constantly getting more complex with most diverse components, densities, and board designs. Therefore, the fast and reliable programming of the soldering process becomes an important step in an efficient electronics production. In order to guarantee the highest uptime of the machine, the ERSA CAD Assistant 4 enables programming offline while the machine is running. These programs can be used without any detours directly onto the machine because of the full integration with the operating software of the machine, ERSA Soft 5. Over the Service tab on the right-hand side and the Machine Configuration tab at the top, you can load or export a machine configuration into the software. The files have to be in a .json file format to work. Clicking on the Programs tab on the right-hand side brings you to the Library and Program Overview. Create a new library by clicking on the button in the lower left corner. Through the action buttons, you can create a new program, rename, copy, export, and delete the library. A new program can also be created by clicking the designated button at the bottom. The drop-down menu allows you to choose the desired library where the program should be saved. Clicking on the Apply button opens the new program. For a better view, the program is categorized in different tabs: Overview, Common Parameters, Process Parameters, Preparation Parameters, Panel Data, Monitoring, Adjust Coordinates, and Selective Data. In the Overview tab, you see program information such as the library, program name, conveyor width. You can also add a comment. Look into the history of the program versions or import an image of the product, which will then be seen in the library overview. Through the Common Parameters tab, you can set the transport speeds for every single module, park and congestion positions for the axis systems, standby temperatures for the heaters, and activate and deactivate the permanent horizontal fixation. In the Process Parameter tab, you can activate and deactivate certain modules depending on the process-related units you want to use. In the Fluxer unit, you can choose the nozzle and set the nozzle gap. The processing time needs to be adjusted regarding to the cycle time of the following unit in order to have an efficient workflow. In the Preheating tab, you can set the temperature and heating time by clicking on the intended areas. The max and min values for each unit is located over and under the set value. Regarding to the length of the product, different sections can be turned off in order to decrease energy consumption. 4 different values are available for the preheat intensity and period. In the soldering module, you can set the temperature and activate, deactivate, and set the distance in between the solder pots. In the Preparation Parameters tab, you can select the nozzle diameter, which later will be used in the program. The panel data function will be further explained in a separate video. Monitoring. With the installation of either a pyrometer or flux drop detection, you have here the possibility to set program-related values. Fiducial recognition in the fluxer and solder module along with the board deflection measurement system can be set up over the Adjust Coordinates tab. The Selective Data tab lets you precisely program the CNC data and process-related parameters. Select an ODB++ zip folder and load it into the program. Select the processing side and rotate it in the desired direction. And continue to set the point of origin in the lower left corner by using the mouse wheel and wheel button to navigate. Depending on the panel information of the ODB++ dataset, you can select which panel should be imported. In the lower left corner, you can see the coordinate system for X and Y. Over the 3D view, you can see a three-dimensional model of the ODB++ file with components. Through the navigation buttons on the left, you can either tilt, rotate, and zoom in and out. Select a JPEG picture and load it into the program. Begin the image restitution if there is a rotation in the picture chosen. Select the lower left, upper right, and lower right corner. Make sure to use reference lines of the crosshairs to select the edges of the PCB. The more accurate you define the edges, the more precise will be the restitution. You can navigate through the picture with the mouse wheel for zooming and the wheel button for moving. Next, you can set the rotation angle in 90-degree steps. To set the dimension of the PCB, you need to first define the lower, then the upper right corner. Insert the length of the PCB and press Apply to confirm. Through the aspect ratio of width and length, the software gives you an approximation of the width. If this value isn't correct, just deactivate the Keep Aspect Ratio button and type in the correct value. Set the point of origin in the lower left corner and press Next. To create, edit, and delete Fluxer templates, you need to go into the template list. You can find the button under the simulation menu. It is possible to create templates for point, path, and continuous path fluxing. You can also import a template library over the import button or simply export your existing one. Select the mode you want to create at the top. In this case, point fluxing is already selected. Press the plus button to open a template. Type in a name, preferably one which relates to the values you are going to set. Simply drag and drop the action blocks from the right into the intended window. Click on the value to change it. Min and max values for the selected block are shown. In this example, we would spray with 20% for 1 second. Path fluxing. In order to move in a line, you have to have a movement speed. Therefore, an action block with a value for speed is automatically integrated when you want to create a path template. It cannot be deleted. You can see that by the different color and the lock sign in the upper right corner of the block. The order of how you set the block in every mode is exactly how the machine will operate. So make sure to turn the spray head on before moving. For a continuous path, you can set a different setting for the first, middle, and last segment. In this example, we would spray with 20% and a movement speed of 5 mm per second. In the last segment, we would stay at the endpoint for an additional 2 seconds. Simply delete the blocks by dragging them out of the window. Save the templates by clicking on the intended button. To create, edit, and delete solder templates, you need to go into the template list. You can find the button for it under the simulation menu. Select the nozzle and the mode you want to create a template for. Press the plus button to open a template. Type in a name, preferably one which relates to the values you are going to set. Simply drag and drop the action blocks from the right into the intended window. Click on the value to change it. Min and max values for the selected block are shown. The order of how you set the block in every mode is exactly how the machine will operate. In this example, we would set the wave height to 85% as fast as possible. Move to 2.5 mm under the PCB with a movement speed of 5 mm per second. Stay there for 2 seconds contact time before we suck off the wave back into the nozzle with a value of 1% within a time of 0.3 seconds. In order to move in a line, you have to have a movement speed. Therefore, an action block with a value for speed is automatically integrated when you want to create a path template. It cannot be deleted. You can see that by the different color and the lock sign in the upper right corner of the block. In this template, we would have a wave height of 85%. Move to 2.5 mm under the PCB in the Z position, with a positioning speed of 80 mm per second. For the starting point, we would have a contact time of 1.5 seconds before we start the path with a speed of 3 mm per second. At the endpoint, we will stay for an additional second before decreasing the wave height to 1% in 0.3 seconds. For a continuous path, you can set a different setting for the first, middle, and last segment. The created template starts with a wave height of 85%. The positioning of the nozzle in Z direction is 2.5 mm under the PCB, with a speed of 80 mm per second. The starting point has a 2-second contact time before we move to the endpoint of the first segment. We solder the middle segment with a speed of 3 mm per second, and the endpoint of the last segment has a contact time of 1.5 seconds before we decrease the wave to 1% in 0.3 seconds. Save the templates by clicking the intended button. To delete the template, click on the trash icon right next to it. To copy a template from one nozzle diameter to another, you need to have the preparation parameters equipped with the nozzles you want to exchange templates from. In the template menu, select the nozzle you want to copy. Press the copy button and select the nozzle you want to copy it to. It is also possible to change the name before applying. Save, and your template is successfully copied. Under Component Selection, you can make components in ODB++ files visible or invisible. Hit the Restricted Areas button to draw them onto the critical areas on the PCB. Use the layer management to hide and show different properties of the program for a better visual experience. The Info button toggles the info box right next to the cursor on and off. Turn the use of optimal starting points on and off with this button. Move the point of origin or set a new background. Different options for the calculation of the auto-routing ensure a good balance between used calculation capacity of the computer and efficient production. At the top, we have the Selection button, Zoom functions, Panel View, and the 3D view, which is used for viewing ODB++ files in a 3D model with components. The Fluxing tab lets you select different modes which are available to create the flux program. Point fluxing, active path, and continuous path. Under the Soldering tab, you can select the available nozzles which have been defined under the preparation parameters. The following modes are available: point, path, and continuous path. Z while moving sets the Z position for positioning from one point or path to another. The drop-down menu lets you choose between modules. You can set the speed of the simulation, start, stop, show the trace, and see the different calculated cycle times. At the bottom, you can either leave the program to go back to the library in Program Overview, execute auto-routing, or save the program. Click on the desired mode to open a drop-down menu of the before created templates. Select the template you want to use. Position the cursor at the starting point to begin drawing on the PCB. Use the mouse wheel for zoom function and the mouse wheel button to navigate. End the path with the left mouse button. End the mode with the right mouse button. Select the path by dragging a window over it. Once marked, the bottom window will show you the properties of the selected items. You can see the coordinate of the starting point along with the template parameters and the coordinates at the endpoint. In addition, all parameters can be changed, new ones added, and also deleted through a drag and drop movement to the right side. Mark the path to move it to a different position, either with the mouse or arrow keys on the keyboard. Use the Windows commands to copy and paste or the right mouse button menu. Use the start and end points to manipulate the positions individually. Values can be changed also through a multi-selection by clicking the desired values in the bottom window and the right mouse button to modify the steps. You can manually set the park position for each axis system through the Common Parameters tab. Execute auto-routing to see the movement of the axis system. Here you can see the before shown position of X 10 mm and Y 10 mm. Activate the optimal park position and execute auto-routing again to see a change in position. This saves time and leads to a more efficient production. Select a nozzle through the drop-down menu in the soldering section. Only nozzles equipped under the preparation parameters and activated solder pots in the process parameters are shown. Select the mode, template, and place it on the defined position. Windows commands like copy, paste, and delete, or the right mouse button menu let you execute different actions. The right mouse button ends the mode. To mark several items, draw a window over them. The bottom window shows you the properties of the selected items. In addition, all parameters can be changed, new ones added, and also deleted through a drag and drop movement to the right side. For example, in this sequence, we move to the X and Y coordinate. Set the wave height to 85%. Move to 2.5 mm in Z with a speed of 80 mm per second. There we have a contact time of 2 seconds before we decrease the wave to 1%. The next step shows how to change the nozzle after the point or path has been placed. Switch to the desired nozzle. Mark the position and press the Change Nozzle button. To invert the direction, perform a right-click and choose Invert Direction. Activate the Restricted Areas function by clicking on the symbol. Use the cursor to draw the restricted area onto the PCB and finish the action with the left mouse button. Specify the height and whether or not crossing is allowed. Execute auto-routing to update the position. To add, delete, or change settings of an already existing line or point, you have to mark it. You can remove an action block by dragging it out of the window to the right side. You can add an action block by dragging it into the Properties window and simply drop it into the preferred position. A repositioning is also possible. To change the template of an already existing path or point, you have to mark it, click the Change Template button, and select the template you want to change it to. Confirm the selection by clicking on the Apply button. To view a simulation of the program, use the drop-down menu to select the module. With the arrow keys, you can decelerate or accelerate the simulation. Start and stop it with the intended buttons. You can also enable or disable the visualization of the trace. The table beneath gives you a process time calculation for each used module. With the selection of the solder pots under Process Parameters and the nozzles under Preparation Parameters, you can assign different tasks to different modules. The green positioning trace shows the movement of the before activated second module. Smart assignment and preparation can lead to a significant decrease of cycle time. The panel function lets you create duplications of your PCB in a matter of seconds. Through the Panel Edit dialog, you can set the number of boards in X and Y direction. In addition, you can also set the panel frame and workpiece carrier offset. The panel table gives you information about the numbers of boards in the panel, executing modules, and the offsets in X, Y, and Z. You can also add a rotation angle in 90-degree steps or an S-code. The panel sequence table gives you an overview about the workflow. Type in the number of boards in X and Y direction, along with the dimensions of the PCB and additional panel or workpiece offsets. Values can still be changed afterwards in the panel table. The panel view gives you a virtual layout of the program panel, including panel frame and workpiece offsets.